Alright everybody, I know this has been a while since we posted a video, but today we're going to be doing a 1-year review. We've got almost 12,000 miles on our 2025 Explorer. I'm going to give you a little point of view drive while we're talking here, just so you can see how everything looks while you're driving, and let you know all of the pros and cons, everything we've discovered over the year. One major complaint that you can probably hear right now is the wind noise that comes from these vehicles, specifically from the mirrors. That's got to be one of my biggest pet peeves. Another issue that I have discovered is if you have anything in the passenger seat that is close to the weight limit of turning the airbag on or off and it bounces a few times, it will actually throw an airbag reading or an airbag fault, which will toss up a bunch of Christmas tree lights onto your dash. I personally don't love that, so it's kind of annoying. But it's only happened 1 or 2 times. I cycled the key off and then it was gone, it disappeared. It really only happened when my wife was in the passenger seat. She had to basically sit in the seat on her knees to reach something behind the seat for our youngest. Other than that, there really hasn't been any issues. One thing that I have discovered, though, I apologize for the car seat rattling in the back. It is really loud when the kids aren't in it. But another thing I've discovered, it's not really anything wrong with the vehicle. It's more of just something that I am not used to because I owned a 2018 F-150 for 3 years before I bought this. I was used to jacking the vehicle up by the pumpkin in the rear and by the control arms up front to do tire rotations and stuff like that. You can't do that with these. The front control arms, or the wishbones, you can't put a jack on because they're twisted and they're very thin. I wouldn't trust the jack to stay stable on there and not drop the vehicle while I'm trying to lift it up. And the pinch welds or the pinch points are so tall on this vehicle because it has so much ground clearance that your standard jacks, unless you're using a scissor jack, which are not recommended for tire rotations or basic maintenance, it's only emergency situations, you really need a large floor jack, one that's meant for like heavy duty trucks, because you have, at least 12 to 16 inches before you even touch the pinch welds, and then you have probably another 4 to 6 inches before you have the body of the vehicle lifted up to take up the suspension travel to get those wheels off the ground. And that's just not something you're able to do with your smaller, like 1-ton or 2-ton jacks. Even some of your larger jacks that are rated for those smaller weight limits won't lift these high enough unless you put blocks under it. And I was using a 4x4 board to lift it up to do my oil changes, but by the time I got the weight of the vehicle on it, it started cracking. So I'd either have to order a new jack, which would be safer, or order lifting blocks for my little jacks to be able to lift this vehicle up to do tire rotations. Now, that was never the case with the F-150, and that's not the case with my wife's 2025 Escape that we have. We can lift that up with basic jacks, no problem. The truck, you can do it with the pumpkin in the rear to get both rear tires up, put jack stands under the axles. You could lift the front control arms up to jack it up that way for the front. It was never a big problem, but that is just something I've noticed with this vehicle that is different. I've never had to do that before, never had to utilize anything larger than a standard jack. I will say, though, that even though there's recalls out for this, there's a recall for the body control module, there's a recall out for, or a customer satisfaction program out for the windshield for bubbling on some instances. There's customer satisfaction programs out for PCM and TCM flash updates and stuff like that to fix transmission shifting and stuff like that. I haven't had any issues. I don't have any of the symptoms of the BCM recall. I'm not going to take it in and have them jack around with it and then something go wrong afterwards or wait months for it to get in. So unless I have a problem, I'm not going to take it in. So I wouldn't be as scared of that BCM recall as they make you want to be. because it's really not that big of a deal unless you're having active issues. Now, granted, I haven't hooked this up to a trailer yet to know if my trailer wiring and everything works. I plan on doing that this summer, and if that happens, then I guess I'll take it in. But other than that, I don't see any issue. I think this is a job 1 vehicle, maybe a job 2. I'm not sure. I think it's a job 1 based on the build date, though, which means theoretically it should have issues, but I might be one of the lucky ones that doesn't have an issue, or they might be making that recall out to be a bigger thing than what it actually is as far as production numbers go. Only time will really tell. I've had it for a year, haven't noticed any of the issues they're talking about, so I think I'm in the clear. I don't think they're really gonna do the replacement anyways, because I think it only goes up to like 9,000 miles. And then after that, it's a larger warranty thing anyways. So unless it fails within the 336, then I don't see a need for it to go in. We've done 2 oil changes on it so far. We're doing ours every 5,000 miles because it's an EcoBoost engine. It's a turbo 2.3. I would not recommend taking it out to the 10,000 miles that they recommend, because at that point they are doing planned obsolescence. They are hoping that you go to 10,000 miles so that things wear faster. They can get you in for all sorts of different stuff. Now, I'm doing 5,000 miles. I did the same 5,000 miles with my Mustang a couple years, or I guess more than a couple years ago, because I had the truck for a couple years. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I did the same with my 2018 2.3 liter EcoBoost Mustang. 5,000 miles. I won't go over it any more than like a couple hundred miles. It just keeps the oil fresh. These turbos love fresh oil, clean oil, and that's really what you want with a turbo engine. So we're doing ours every 5,000 miles. We've got just a hair under 12,000 on it right now, so we've probably got another couple months before we do another oil change. Basic maintenance, really, guys, is all you need to do with these, and they should last well over 100,000 miles. The vehicle itself performs very well, handles very well, rides very smooth. I don't have any complaints on that. Has great power, even in normal. I mean, let's face it, guys, even if you put it in eco mode, if you hit it, you're going to feel that turbo. You're going to feel the power being delivered to the ground, and it's a great feeling, especially with an all-wheel drive vehicle. It is very, very nice, very safe feeling, but also very sporty is the word I'm looking for. Now, there's multiple drive modes on these vehicles. We're going to go left to right on the menus here. There's tow haul, which I have found to be my new favorite mode. It keeps the revs a little higher in the gears, doesn't mess with your pedal response. It feels like it does because the gears are held longer and it's more sensitive to gear changes, but the actual pedal response and input is going to be the same as if you're in normal. So it's not as much of a hit on your gas mileage as sport mode would be. I've also found that I've read online that it is a true 50-50 split in tow haul mode as far as front and rear wheel power distribution, which is great. It gives you a very controlled feeling even if you're on the throttle hard. Next, we would have sport mode, which holds the gears longer, downshifts sooner, messes with your throttle response, and also I have heard that it gives you that fake engine noise, or the fang as they call it. I believe that is true even on these 2.3 liters, which is sad. I really just want to hear the turbo and hear the actual engine noise. They put it in to give people more of a sporty feel for people that don't know engines and cars. And unfortunately, they have not added a way to disable it with ForScan like you could in previous years. Then we would have, next, going to the right, we would have Eco, which numbs your throttle response, shifts early, is supposed to be geared towards fuel economy, obviously, because it's Eco. I noticed I actually got worse fuel economy in Eco, other than me being very aware that I need to push the pedal farther or more to get the same throttle response. After that, you would have normal, and that's just going to be your normal everyday drive mode, good all-arounder. After that, you're going to have snow or snow wet mode, which, let me tell you guys, is a godsend in winter. It makes these vehicles an absolute tank. Like, you cannot get these to spin or lose traction in snow wet mode. I had my foot matted this winter going down more than one road, more than one thickness of snow. Like, we had well over 1.5 feet of snow here on the roads. Our town doesn't plow them until after the snow stops, and even then it's like a day or two after. And this thing took it like an absolute truck, an absolute champ in the snow. I had it full all the way to the floor, complete full matted to the floor with no issues. Could not get it to spin, no wheel slip, nothing. Couldn't get it to slide. Now, the second you put it in sport mode, it's going to slide very quickly because it reduces traction control. But snow mode is amazing in these vehicles. They have that so well figured out, it is unreal. Like, you really feel at that point like you're in a rally car. After that, you've got off-road mode, which I haven't played around with too much. I haven't even really looked into a whole lot because it's not something that I use this Explorer for. I don't off-road with it. I know it increases throttle sensitivity. It holds gears longer, like way longer, even longer than sport mode, because it's meant for off-road use. So it will throw you down in the gears if you accidentally hit that while you're driving down the road at 40, 50 mile an hour. You're going to see that RPM peg out at like 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, and it's not something that I am comfortable with, so I don't ever use it. I don't ever need it anyways, though, so it's not that big of a deal. And that'll be all the drive modes on these. Now, if you have the ST or you have the Platinum, I believe there's a sand mode or a deep sand mode. I don't have that one, so I can't speak on that one personally. Unfortunately, I have the 2025 ST line with the premium sound and the moonroof, sunroof package. Now, that was 2025 is the last year that you can actually get that sunroof to open. Starting in 2026, they removed the availability or the option to have that open. It's now just a glass roof instead of an actual sun or moon roof, which sucks. Because if anything happens to this one, I go to get a 2026, I'm not going to be able to have that sunroof or that moonroof that I love and that the kids love, which is very disappointing. And they're doing all that to cut costs, and I understand that because the prices of these vehicles are insane. I think this one was, I think it was high 40s, low 50s, which, I mean, in today's standards isn't bad, but it's less than a truck. That's why we got into it, because I really love the looks and couldn't really stomach the price of a $60,000 truck for a base model, and that's just no. But that'll cover the drive modes here on this one. Now, gas mileage, it's been really cold lately, so we've been seeing 22 to 25 miles to the gallon consistently out of the tanks. That's about average. I can deal with that. My truck was getting between 12 and 13 before, so that's a huge bump for me. During the summer, though, warmer months when we've got the summer blend fuel instead of the winter blend fuel, and we're not idling as much, trying to warm the vehicle up before we leave, we're routinely getting around 30 to 35 miles to the gallon, which is insane for a full-size SUV. I don't know how they do it. It is amazing. We can reach over 600 miles to the tank in the summer. In the winter, right now we're at 441. We've probably driven 15 miles. We're about 460-ish in the winter, which is good. That's really good. That's more than what I do driving a week, so it's not bad. I can fill about once a week. These vehicles just absolutely handle like a dream. I don't regret, and this is going to be a big controversial topic in this video, I feel. If you've made it this far, let me know how your opinions are on this. I do not regret getting the ST line over the ST. I test drove a 2022 ST before I bought this, and don't get me wrong, they've got a lot of power and it felt great, but it was very clunky, very stiff, and I did not like that for a daily driver, for my only vehicle. The shifts were very rough, very abrupt, even in normal mode. When I put it in sport mode, it almost break your neck because the shifts were so rough. And we ended up hopping into this. The day we were supposed to purchase the ST, they wanted me to take this for a test drive to see how I liked it because it was new, it would be easier to finance, stuff like that, yada yada. And the moment I left the lot, I knew I wasn't going back to that ST. This vehicle rides so much smoother, shifts so much better, is just worlds ahead of even the previous facelift of it. Like, this is just a redesign for 25. This is the same body style that they've had since 22 with just a redesign, a facelift on it. And it is miles ahead of the 2020s to 2024s as far as build quality goes, ride quality. And maybe it was just that one ST that I drove. Maybe that one, the previous owner dogged it. Maybe they really just messed it up. But this 2025 ST line was the go-to as soon as I started driving it. Even in sport mode, feels amazing. Buttery, smooth shifts. Like, you know you're shifting, you know you're into it. You feel and hear the turbo. And it is the best all-around dad car that you can get. And I strongly feel that way. You guys can let me know otherwise in the comments, but I strongly feel that way. I do not regret this purchase at all. Honestly, I wish I would have got this earlier when they first came out. Like middle of 2024 when they started rolling out on the lots. I should have just traded in and got this right away, but I didn't. I waited till February of last year. Now it is beginning of March this year. I've had it for a full year, and this is the only vehicle I've ever bought where I can say I don't regret something about it, which is awesome. Sound quality is amazing. It's got the sub in the rear because we've got the premium sound package. I would play some music on here, and I'll try to here in a minute to get some of that sound through there, but I strongly feel like it'll get copyrighted. So we'll try to find some DMCA free music. I think I've got some loaded already up, but we'll try it. There's really no cons to this vehicle other than those few that I mentioned earlier in the video. It's a great vehicle. Now, we did a bunch of stuff on ForScan to it that I feel like should have been done from the factory. We did the amber daytime running lights, which give it an absolutely menacing look, especially like mine that's all blacked out. You really do look like a cop driving down the road. People will move over, they will slow down, they will freak out, which is kind of funny. We also enabled Bambi mode so I can have my high beams on with my fog lights on to give that extra visibility and that extra brightness at night to see the deer on the road. I enabled auto lock when you walk away, which the factory didn't have and the menus don't even have. It doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't put that on there. That's a basic feature that I think you should have if you have a fob, if you have a push button start and keyless entry. It should have a walk away lock. So we enabled that. Sadly, Ford didn't put that in the Escapes. I can't enable that in my wife's Escape, but I could enable it in this. So I enabled that. I enabled the amber daytime running lights, and yes, my turn signals work. The turn signals work. I've been running it this way for over 8 months with no problems. Turn signals work. Unlike issues before where you would lose turn signal functionality for it, they do work. Now, I will say they only work during the day when the lighting is bright enough, and they only work when you're in drive or reverse. They do not work when you're in neutral. They do not work when you're in park. They switch back to a dim white in either one of those. When your headlights turn on, they go back to the bright white. Now, you can bypass that like I do all the time by going down here to your lever and turning it to option 2 for your marker lights. I do have a video on how to do all of these ForScan changes as well on my channel. And that will allow you to run them all the time. You can even run them with fog lights on. So when it's kind of dim, but it's not quite dark enough for headlights, you can run them with the fog lights on. We plan on doing the camera change where I can hit this camera button and it doesn't give me the black box. It gives me all my camera access while we're driving. Because sometimes when you're pulling into a parking spot a little too quick and you hit that button, it won't give you the camera because you're still going over that mile/per-hour threshold for just a moment. And you have to completely stop, back out of it, click the button again to make sure that you're not going to hit that parking block. Or make sure you're in your lines, which is annoying. So we did all those changes. It's been a great vehicle. Those changes really made a world of difference. This year, the plans are to do the black wheels, whether that be plastic dipping them or just getting snap-on covers like my wife has, because those are very, very nice quality. You can't even really tell that the wheels themselves aren't black underneath because you don't see it. It covers them perfectly. It's a seamless design. Another thing we did to this, which I don't have it on here right now because it got cold and I didn't want it freezing, is the blow-off valve adapter. When you look online, they will tell you that the 2025 does not have a blow-off valve. You can't get a blow-off valve adapter for it. That is wrong. You can get the one for the Ranger, the Bronco, the ST that has the blow-off valves, and there is a blow-off valve. There's a recirc valve, which I believe I also have a video on. But there's a recirc valve on the passenger side intake tube that you can put this in and you will have your blow-off valve. Now, since it isn't automatic, it is not as obvious. You really have to lay into it and then let off. It will only blow off when you let off of the throttle. It won't do it every gear change, so it's not annoying. It only does it, like right now, say we're on the throttle right now, and I were to let off, it would have blew it off. It would have psh as soon as I let off. And then it would have went away as soon as I got back on it. Which is awesome. It has a nice sound to it. I just didn't want it freezing up because we get some nasty winters out here sometimes, terrible temps. I didn't want it sticking closed and hurting the engine, and I didn't want it sticking open and not having any boost. So I took it off for the winter. Once it is consistently above freezing, I will definitely be throwing it back on, and I'll get a better video now that we've got this amazing action camera that I'm wearing right now. We went out and purchased a DJI Osmo Action 4 to start filming more. We're going to film this as well as film more videos for the fishing channel. And mainly this was for the fishing channel and for our custom baits and pouring stuff like that that we're going to start doing and that we already have been doing. But I figured this would be a nice test run for it since this is the first full day that we've got the camera. This drive home from dropping the oldest off at school will give us a chance to test battery length and quality. So we're going to be filming a lot more. I'll try to get a better video of it, a better sound of it, since this will have better quality than my iPhone will, and see what we can figure out. But I will be throwing that back on. I do have a video on that as well, I believe an install video. So far, that's really all we've done is ForScan mods to this thing. We've been changing the oil on time. We put the blow-off valve on it late summer, early fall last year, then pulled it off before winter. We put the splash guards on. Those are huge, guys. The splash guards are huge. They have helped so much with the overspray from the road, and especially during the snowy season. This thing stayed basically clean until everything started melting and misting again. But during the whole snowstorm and driving on snowy and icy roads, this vehicle was absolutely clean. Like, you couldn't tell that it had been driving down salty, snowy roads. It was clean. And I think those were only like 35 bucks. I think my blow-off valve was only 20, 25 bucks. Now, the blow-off valve, I will tell you, if you buy them, generally they're going to come with the wrong hardware to them. So you will have to go source your own hardware. I will try to provide that in the comments and get that in there. But we had to go to Menards like 4 or 5 times for me to find the right bolts for it, because the thread pitch on the factory bolts is not a standard thread pitch. It is a very, very coarse thread, but it's something that your local stores are probably not going to carry. So we had to find one that matched up close enough with most of the threads to give a good holding power. And it took us some time, and even then you still don't really want to tighten it down like you would factory stuff. I'm going to try to find the exact thread pitch for the ones that are in there this year. That way I don't have to worry about it as much. Because the ones that come with it, one, only give you like 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch engagement, which are not good. Like, who knows how much boost we're pushing through here. It could be 5 pounds, it could be 20 pounds. I know my old EcoBoost Mustang used to push 23 pounds of boost, peak boost. I don't know what this pushes because we don't have a gauge on it. Ford, if you're watching this, add a boost gauge into your next software update. The entire Explorer community would really love it. Like, really love it. I know you have the parameters in ForScan, I've seen it, but when I enable them, you won't let me see the gauge. Other than that, though, guys, love it. Love this vehicle. This will conclude our 1-year review on it, our 12,000 mile review, and we'll see where the year takes us this year. We're going to try to have some more content, try to have some more detailing content specifically over here, basic maintenance content, stuff like that. We're going to try to get more pictures of it as spring comes out, everything gets all pretty again. But I figured this would be a great first test for this camera, and we'll see how it goes in post. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.